Hi, I'm Keelan Sadarkani, and this is my place in Canadian history. From what I can recall on my dad's side, it all started with my dad himself. My dad was one of the two children of Irvin Schifferer and Charlotte Jordan. Irvin Schifferer, my grandfather, was born on February 20th, 1939 during the reign of Hitler and the outbreak of World War II in Munich, Germany. My grandmother, on the other hand, was born December 25th, 1941 in Budapest, Hungary. Soon after their first encounter, they instantaneously fell head over heels in love. They traveled the world together and eventually decided to pack it in and begin a family back in Hungary. However, in order to come live in the country, my grandfather's last name needed to be changed, as it was German, and it wasn't preferred for someone to own a German last name in Hungary. With little thought of what to do, my grandfather took the name of a small town in Hungary known as Székely. On January 16, 1966, Bernard Székely, my dad, came into the world. Luckily for him, World War II had passed, and he was able to begin his life in somewhat of a peaceful environment. He was just a young child in search of adventures and curiosity, as any child would be at his age. 2 years later, on August 11, 1968, my dad's sister, Bernadette Székely, was brought into the family. As the years passed, my dad matured from a little rambunctious boy into a sophisticated man. So while living in Hungary, he found dissatisfaction. Something just didn't feel right. 1987 became the year my dad would immigrate from Budapest, Hungary to British Columbia, Canada. Nevertheless, the process wasn't that simple. He hopped on the next available tourist bus out of Hungary to Germany, which would then become his first step to a new beginning in his life. Once he arrived in Germany, he remained in the country for over a year and a half, seeking sponsors from USA, New Zealand, South Africa, and several other countries. After a year and a half of inquiring about the sponsors, he had found luck in British Columbia, Canada, where a priest would later take him in. For several years, he spent his life in the breathtaking area of British Columbia, traveling from the city to the coast in search of jobs, and more than often, just for the experience of seeing the various sceneries. Fortunately for him, he was able to land a job planting trees in Alberta. Therefore, he made his way to Alberta, where he would camp out for 3 months in order to plant the trees in their designated spots. He received a good outcome of pay for his particular job, and shortly after used that money to travel to places such as Thailand, Austria, Fiji, and many others to come. Once he had packed the traveling in, he made a decision to work his way out to Toronto, Canada, where him and my mom, Jamie Gone, had their first encounter. It was love at first sight, as my mom would refer to it as. My mom was the proud 5th child of her 9 siblings. Her parents Jim Gone and Doreen Dowdy had met in London, England, after my grandmother had immigrated from India to England. It would only be a short 9 months before they moved over to Canada to start their family. Now back to my parents, it was nearly 4 years of dating before my dad stepped up to the plate and proposed. Less than a year after their marriage, I, Keelan Sadarkani, came into this world. I was a child who was very interested in the world around me. Not long after my birth, my sister, Sophie Sadarkani, was brought into the Sadarkani family. We were a very blissful family at that and continue to be. I am very pleased to be who I am and of my culture. And with that said, this is my place in Canadian history.